The Cleveland Browns are spiraling into chaos, and what just came out from former NFL wide receiver Andrew Hawkins has sent shockwaves through the entire football world. We're talking about a prediction so bold, so explosive, that it could completely rewrite the future of one of the league's most tortured franchises. Shedeur Sanders, the name that's been on everyone's lips, the quarterback who's been lighting up college football, the son of a legend, could be wearing orange and brown sooner than anyone imagined. And if that happens, it means the Browns' current quarterback situation is about to implode in the most dramatic fashion possible. Forget everything you thought you knew about the Cleveland plants, because what's brewing right now could trigger a full-scale organizational earthquake that leaves careers shattered, fans divided, and the entire NFL landscape completely transformed. Before we dive into this absolute bombshell, if you want the inside scoop on every quarterback controversy, every draft rumor, and every franchise-altering decision in the NFL, smash that subscribe button right now and hit the notification bell. You're not going to want to miss a single second of what's coming. So let's set the stage here, because the Cleveland Browns are in the middle of what can only be described as a full-blown crisis. For years, this franchise has been searching for the answer at quarterback. They've cycled through more signal callers than any team in modern NFL history. Baker Mayfield came in with massive hype after being the #1 overall pick, had moments of brilliance, then flamed out spectacularly. The relationship between Mayfield and the organization became so toxic that they essentially had to blow it up and start over. Then came the Deshaun Watson era, and that's been nothing short of a nightmare from start to finish. The Browns made one of the most controversial moves in NFL history when they traded for Deshaun Watson and gave him a fully guaranteed contract worth $230 million. It was the kind of deal that made every other franchise in the league take notice, not just because of the money, but because of the circumstances surrounding Watson at the time. The off-field allegations, the legal battles, the public scrutiny. Cleveland ignored all of it and went all in. They mortgaged their future, traded away multiple first-round picks, and committed to Watson as their franchise savior. The problem, Watson has been a disaster on the field. Injuries have derailed him. His performance has been inconsistent at best, terrible at worst. The magic he showed in Houston has completely vanished. And now, the Browns are stuck with a quarterback who's eating up a massive chunk of their salary cap, delivering nothing in return, and creating an atmosphere of frustration that's poisoning the entire locker room. Enter Andrew Hawkins. Now, Hawkins isn't just some random talking head throwing out hot takes for clicks. This guy played for the Browns. He knows the organization from the inside. He understands the culture, the desperation, the constant pressure to finally find that franchise quarterback who can end decades of misery. And when Hawkins speaks about the Browns, people listen because he's got credibility that most analysts simply don't. So when Andrew Hawkins went on record recently and predicted that Shedeur Sanders could realistically start for the Cleveland Browns, the entire football world stopped in its tracks.
Shedeur Sanders is currently the quarterback at Colorado, playing under his father, the legendary Deion Sanders. And the kid isn't just riding his famous last name, he's been absolutely phenomenal. Shedeur has been putting up video game numbers, displaying poise, accuracy, arm strength, and leadership that has NFL scouts salivating. He's got the physical tools, the mental processing speed, and the intangibles that translate to the next level. But more than that, he's got the swagger, the confidence, the clutch gene that separates good quarterbacks from elite ones. When the game's on the line, Shedeur delivers. He's been doing it under the brightest spotlight imaginable, with millions of people watching every single throw, every single decision, every single moment. And he hasn't cracked, he's thrived. The NFL draft is coming, and Shedeur Sanders is projected to be one of the top quarterback prospects available. Teams that are desperate for a signal caller are already circling, doing their homework, preparing their pitches. And the Browns, they fit that profile perfectly. They need hope. They need excitement. They need someone who can galvanize a fan base that's been beaten down for so long they've almost forgotten what winning feels like. Shedeur Sanders represents all of that and more. He's not just a quarterback, he's a brand, a personality, a phenomenon. Having him in Cleveland would instantly make the Browns relevant again, would sell tickets, would create buzz, would give fans a reason to believe. But here's where it gets messy, because the Browns are in a financial nightmare with Deshaun Watson. That fully guaranteed contract doesn't just disappear. Even if they wanted to move on from Watson, the dead cap hit would be astronomical. It would cripple their ability to build a competitive roster, would handcuff the front office for years, and would basically guarantee that the team stays in mediocrity. So how do you justify drafting a quarterback high when you're already paying another quarterback $250 million? It doesn't make sense on paper. It violates every principle of sound roster construction. But the Browns have never operated on logic or sound principles. This is a franchise that's been defined by desperation, by reaching, by making emotional decisions that backfire spectacularly. Andrew Hawkins sees this train wreck coming. He understands that the Browns are backed into a corner and desperate teams do desperate things. He's predicting that the Cleveland might draft Shedeur Sanders, not because it makes financial sense, but because the alternative, continuing to roll with Watson and watching the franchise sink deeper into irrelevance, is even worse. Hawkins believes that the Browns' leadership might decide to eat the Watson contract, absorb the pain, and start fresh with a young quarterback who actually wants to be there and who has the talent to succeed. Think about what that would mean. If the Browns draft Shedeur Sanders, it's an admission of total failure. It's ownership in the front office essentially saying, "We screwed up. The Watson trade was a disaster. We need to move on." That kind of public acknowledgement would be humiliating for everyone involved. General managers would be fired, coaches would be scapegoated, the entire organizational structure would be under siege. But it might be the only path forward, because right now, the Browns are going nowhere with Watson. The fans know it, the players know it, and most importantly, the people in charge know it, even if they're not ready to admit it publicly.
Now let's talk about what Shedeur Sanders brings to the table and why he's such an attractive option for a franchise like Cleveland. First and foremost, the kid can play. He's got elite arm talent, can make every throw in the book, and has shown the ability to dissect defenses at a level that's rare for a college quarterback. But beyond the physical skills, it's the mental side of his game that's so impressive. Shedeur processes information quickly, goes through his progressions, doesn't panic under pressure, and makes smart decisions with the football. Those are traits that can't be taught. You either have them or you don't, and Shedeur has them in abundance. Then there's the leadership factor. Playing for his father at Colorado hasn't been easy. The scrutiny has been intense, the expectations have been sky high, and the criticism has been relentless. But Shedeur has handled it all with grace and maturity. He's become the unquestioned leader of that team, the guy his teammates rally around, the voice in the huddle that commands respect. That's exactly what the Browns need. They need someone who can walk into a broken locker room and immediately establish himself as the alpha. Shedeur Sanders has that presence. He's been groomed for this his entire life by one of the most charismatic and successful athletes in sports history. The stage doesn't intimidate him. The pressure doesn't faze him. He's built for this. And let's not ignore the marketing and media angle here. Shedeur Sanders isn't just a football player. He's a cultural icon. He's got millions of followers on social media. He's got endorsement deals. He's got a platform that extends far beyond the football field. For a franchise like the Browns that's been starved for attention, for excitement, for relevance, bringing in Shedeur would be an instant game changer. The media would descend on Cleveland. National broadcasters would suddenly care about Browns games. Prime time slots would become the norm instead of the exception. From a business perspective, it's a no-brainer. Shedeur Sanders would sell jerseys, fill the stadium, and generate revenue in ways that Deshaun Watson simply hasn't and never will. But here's the drama that nobody's talking about enough. What happens to Deshaun Watson if Shedeur Sanders gets drafted? Does Watson just accept being a backup, making $40 million a year? Does he demand a trade, even though his trade value is essentially zero? Does the situation turn into a circus, with Watson's camp leaking stories to the media, creating division, and making the whole thing even uglier than it already is? This is a powder keg waiting to explode, and Andrew Hawkins knows it.
He's predicting not just that Shedeur could start, but that the entire Browns organization could descend into chaos as they try to navigate this impossible situation. There's also the question of whether Shedeur Sanders would even want to go to Cleveland. The Browns are a dysfunctional franchise with a losing culture, a frustrated fan base, and a front office that's made questionable decision after questionable decision. Shedeur has options. He could theoretically refuse to play for Cleveland, could pull an Eli Manning and force his way to a different team. But here's the thing. Deion Sanders didn't raise a kid who runs from challenges. Shedeur has the confidence, the belief in his own abilities to think he can succeed anywhere. If the Browns draft him, he'll show up, he'll compete, and he'll try to prove that he's the guy who can finally end the curse that's haunted Cleveland for decades.
Let's dig into the timeline here, because the NFL draft is rapidly approaching, and the Browns are sitting in a position where they could absolutely land Shedeur Sanders if they want him. Depending on how the draft shakes out, depending on which teams ahead of them take quarterbacks, Cleveland could be staring at an opportunity to grab the most exciting quarterback prospect in this class. And if Andrew Hawkins is right, if the organization has already decided that the Watson experiment is over, then they won't hesitate. They'll pull the trigger, they'll draft Shedeur, and they'll deal with the fallout later. But pulling the trigger on Shedeur means more than just drafting him. It means committing to a full rebuild. It means accepting that the next year or two might be painful as the team transitions, as Shedeur learns the NFL game, as the roster gets reshaped around a new quarterback. Browns fans have been through this cycle so many times, it's almost cruel to ask them to endure it again. But what's the alternative? Keep rolling with Watson and watch the franchise continue to rot from the inside out? At least with Shedeur Sanders, there's hope, there's a future, there's something to believe in. Andrew Hawkins didn't just throw this prediction out randomly. He's been watching the Browns closely, talking to people inside the organization, reading the tea leaves, and what he's seeing is a franchise that's at a breaking point. The Watson contract is an albatross, but it's not insurmountable. Teams have eaten bad contracts before and survived. The Browns could structure things in a way that minimizes the immediate cap damage, spread the pain out over multiple years, and use the draft to inject young, cheap talent that offsets the financial burden. It's not ideal, but it's doable. And if the reward is landing a quarterback who could be special, who could be the face of the franchise for the next decade, then it's a risk worth taking. There's also the coaching angle to consider. The Browns' coaching staff is under immense pressure to win now. Their jobs depend on it. If they believe Shedeur Sanders gives them a better chance to succeed than Deshaun Watson, they'll push for it. They'll lobby the front office. They'll make their case. They'll put their reputations on the line. Because at the end of the day, coaches don't care about contracts or cap hits or organizational politics. They care about winning games. And if Shedeur Sanders is the guy who can help them do that, they'll go to war to get him. The fans are another critical piece of this puzzle. Cleveland Browns fans are some of the most loyal, most passionate, most long-suffering fans in all of sports. They've stuck with this team through unimaginable heartbreak, through decades of futility, through embarrassment after embarrassment. And right now, they're fed up. They're tired of the excuses, tired of the false hope, tired of watching other teams succeed while their franchise remains stuck in neutral. If the Browns draft Shedeur Sanders, it would energize the fan base in ways we haven't seen in years. It would give them something to rally around, something to get excited about. It would sell out training camp, would create buzz on sports talk radio, would dominate the local and national conversation. That kind of momentum is invaluable, and the Browns desperately need it.
But let's not sugarcoat this. There are massive risks. Shedeur Sanders, as talented as he is, has never taken an NFL snap. The transition from college to the pros is brutal, and plenty of can't-miss prospects have crashed and burned. The speed of the game is different. The complexity of defenses is different. The physical toll is different. Shedeur would be stepping into one of the toughest divisions in football, going up against elite pass rushers, facing defensive coordinators who've spent decades mastering the art of destroying young quarterbacks. He could struggle, he could get hurt, he could fail. And if that happens, the Browns will have wasted another high draft pick, will have created even more dysfunction, and will be right back where they started, searching for answers that never seem to come. Andrew Hawkins understands all of this. He knows the risks, he knows the challenges, he knows how badly things could go wrong.
But he also knows that doing nothing, sticking with the status quo, accepting mediocrity, that's a death sentence for the Browns. So he's putting his prediction out there, he's staking his credibility on it, and he's forcing everyone to confront the reality that the Browns' quarterback situation is about to reach a boiling point. This isn't just about Shedeur Sanders or Deshaun Watson or the Cleveland Browns. This is about the broader issue of how NFL franchises make decisions when they're backed into a corner, when their initial plan has failed catastrophically, when they have to choose between doubling down on a mistake or cutting their losses and starting over. The Browns are the poster child for organizational dysfunction, for making desperate moves that blow up in their faces. But maybe, just maybe, this time is different. Maybe this time they get it right. Maybe Shedeur Sanders is the answer they've been searching for all along. The clock is ticking, the draft is coming, decisions are being made behind closed doors, and when the Browns are on the clock, when they have the opportunity to select Shedeur Sanders, the entire football world will be watching. Because if Andrew Hawkins is right, if Shedeur does end up in Cleveland, it's going to set off a chain reaction that nobody can predict. Careers will be made and destroyed, legacies will be defined, and the Browns, for better or worse, will once again be at the center of the NFL's biggest story. Disclaimer: the information presented in this story is based on reports, expert predictions, public statements, and ongoing developments surrounding the Cleveland Browns and Shedeur Sanders. Details subject to change as the NFL draft approaches and official team decisions are announced.